Welcome back to Vegas Live with Ninon. I have Clark Bossert with me, and I believe he's running for some part in this office, this big worldwide of America. What are you running for?
Yeah, Ninon, thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've got to get you out there.
Thank you. I appreciate you helping me reach a larger audience. So I'm
Yes.
running for Congress in Nevada District 3. So
Okay.
this is the federal office, and geographically, they just redistricted. So it's a different area than it used to be. But
Oh.
if you live west of the Strip from Southern Highlands all the way down to, or all the way up to Centennial Hills, and then out to Pahrump, that's all District 3. So it's a quarter of the state
You're in
population-wise.
my district.
Yes, well, thank you.
I live in
Yeah.
Southern Highlands, so I better back myself up a little bit here.
Yeah, the interview just got tougher. So
No, no.
thank you for having me in your district.
So yeah, I didn't even know that.
Mhm.
Actually, we met at a Bible study.
Yep.
I go to Bible studies sometimes, not all the time because I have work to do, and with Jules, which is fabulous. And you were sort of, with your wife and your
Mhm.
baby, and you have a newborn.
Yeah, I've got a newborn.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's real sweet, and she's all filling, no crust. She's pretty round, and yeah, really great.
I don't know what that means, but she's definitely very lively.
Yes.
And she's quite young.
Yeah, she's 5 months now.
5 months now
Yeah.
already. So now what made you, you're quite young,
Hmm.
go into politics? Because
Yeah.
politics is a tricky place to be
Uh-huh.
because you're trying to please everybody.
Yeah.
At the same time, you've got a lot of people against you.
Hmm.
So, because you've got other people running
Uh-huh.
for their district and also the same district as you're in.
Yep.
So, kind of,
What have I done?
yeah, what have I put myself into?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, and we can go more into the backstory, but first of all, I love our country a ton. I feel like we're losing it. And that's been some of the rationale for why I've jumped
Really?
into this race. Yeah, and so many things have changed over the last year. I mean, I'm sure you felt it, and even if you don't understand how federal lawmaking rolls right down to your front doorstep, if you look outside, everything is 20% more expensive. That's because of inflation, through the theft and debasement of our
Well,
currency.
and I think it's even going up more than 20% because
Yeah.
gasoline now in Los Angeles is what, $5 a gallon?
Yes, I was
Well, it's
just
$4.95 or something. So they,
No, I paid $5.40 yesterday in Pasadena. So depending on the basket of commodities that you look at, we're well above 20%, in some cases 100% higher.
Yes.
So, and I'd also say, as far as jumping into politics, it depends on how you play it. But my heart is, it's important for you. You want to have an informed vote. I want to make that as easy as possible for you. So that's why I'm just completely transparent about who I am.
So what's your main thing that you don't like that you're running for? Because every
Yeah.
politician that goes into politics or whatever they're running for, whatever it may be, they have one main object plus a lot of others. But
Sure.
your main thing you're running for, which you said earlier, was the country.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think if there's a main thing. Really, I guess if you boil it down to my general philosophy of government, is that I think that the government just exists to preserve your God-given rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So I don't need to tell you what hat to wear or where to live. I just need to make sure that your stuff's not getting taken, your life isn't getting taken, and no one
Oh.
else's freedom is encroaching on yours.
I think
So-
freedom is a big thing right now because we seem to be not having freedom. And it seems that
Yeah.
this COVID thing was the one that took a lot of our freedom out. And when I say COVID, that's all people, actually all over the world, but we're talking about America, but the American people, whether they're Democrat, Republican, or indifferent, it's
Yeah.
all people.
Mhm.
And we're having it seems what I see out there, and I love being older now, so I don't have to worry so much. But it seems a lot of things are taken away, especially for the younger generation. School kids and all this stuff going on, but they're still wearing masks.
Mhm. Well, that's completely true. I think that the government has used COVID and the pandemic as a pretext to enact restrictions that they never would have been able to get away with in any
Yes.
other situation.
That's
And then they're hanging on to that power. So,
well, they're trying to hang on to it, but I think
Yeah.
people are getting their heads out of the sand.
well, look at Canada.
I don't get that. I still haven't quite understood Canada because Canada is
Yeah.
kind of a sister or something to England, to Britain.
Sure.
And
Well, really what's going on with Canada is that, they mandated the vaccine, and, as Americans and even just as free people around the world, we're always going to retain our choice and our autonomy to choose what we put in our bodies.
yeah, I think so.
Full stop.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, you don't even have the choice over what you put in your own body. And that's something that's just beyond the jurisdiction of what government is allowed to speak to or interfere with. So, I can't tell you who to marry or how to raise your children. So these are things that the government is just, they shouldn't be interfering with.
And it's all over the world, because
Yeah.
I don't know if I know it's all over the world, but I don't know if it was done just to hit America. Because I kind of got in the back of my head is, did they have America in mind? But let's make it the whole world, then it won't look like it's any different country. And you're
Yeah.
laughing at that. So.
No, I was thinking, I don't know if I feel special that I'm specifically targeted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we're the special ones. I don't know.
Well, I'd say that this whole pandemic, you look at the World Economic Forum, you look at the the global health agencies, and really they're wanting to see the Great Reset. And if you don't know, you can Google it. But it's not a conspiracy theory. It's it's their formal stated platform on things that they want to see happen, as far as the next transformation of the way that we work. And
It's funny. You're definitely in the younger generation.
Mhm.
I'm definitely in the older generation. I've always been with the younger generation. I happen to love the way the younger generation think. What I'm looking at in Washington, I'm looking at an awful lot of older people running Washington when we're in a technical world that the older people really don't understand the technology going around. You were brought up in it, and you know more about technology than these older people. And when I hear them talking about so many different things, I'm like, I know a little bit of it. I'm like
Yeah.
rubbing my head thinking, they're running the country and they don't even know what's going on.
yeah.
So
Well-
what's going, do we need younger people in there?
I think we definitely need younger people, and I'll say there's nothing inherently virtuous about being younger, because we also need the wisdom of older folks. But
Absolutely.
I would
Not to
say
run
that-
the country.
yeah, but I would say that you need to have the requisite intellectual ability to be able to lead through policy discussions on a wide range of issues, and that's really important. And so that's why I think some of my technical background comes into play.
Definitely.
Prior to this, I was the machine shop manager for science and engineering at UNLV, and then I was in central finance for a VP before that. And I've done several other things outside of that. So I think it's important to, not be too siloed, have a good grasp, because, we see this problem primarily in Joe Biden, because, there's no chance that he's leading policy discussions in back rooms. So we don't know who's in charge of our country.
We have no idea.
As Americans, we have a right to know. That's a problem.
Yeah, and I don't even see him coming out of the White House anymore, so I don't even know if he's living at the White House. Because normally they come out and they come to the Rose Garden,
Yeah.
they come to the lawn. I haven't seen that quite happen too much. I know it's
Well,
maybe
you know that
winter
he has a
and cold.
fake White House set. Did you know that?
No, but
Yeah, it's
now
outside the White House. It looks like the White
everybody out
House.
there, you now know it.
Yeah, now you know.
Really?
Yes, he has a fake White House set, and I can send you the footage, but it's easy to find, and he's
No, I don't believe you.
he's
for
drawn
your word.
quite a bit of criticism for it.
Really?
Really.
So they all think, well, I obviously haven't seen it because I haven't seen him coming
Yeah.
out. Because you normally see them walking out of the front door of the White
Yeah.
House. You see all this, and so
You're not seeing it.
no.
Yeah, there's a fake set. It's
And I
got
was
fake
thinking, why is
windows.
that? So it's got fake everything.
It's got fake everything.
Now, what about this cyber thing going on? We've got a cyber
Yeah.
thing that definitely the younger generation. When I talk about the younger generation, I'm talking about under 50 or under 45. Around,
Uh-huh.
I'm talking under that because they know all about this cyber thing. Now, they had a cyber attack on the Ukraine
Yeah.
yesterday to this morning, whenever it was, but it was today. Now, the older people, and you've got a young gentleman running the Ukraine. I forget his name, but he's younger. He's not 80 or he's not 70. He's probably up 45, 50.
Yeah.
So he knows exactly what's going on with the cyber. And this was sent in at the last minute. So they could, they're trying to attack the Ukraine. Or not that I'm on any side. But this is where you need the younger generation to sort this out because the older ones don't know. So
Yeah, and that's really a big problem because our world is so digitized that
Yeah.
all of your financial transactions, your data, your identity, everything is online. And so cyber warfare is huge. So right now, I don't think that we're going to get into a really hot kinetic war, though I think we will have some conflict. But I think that we are going to see a really, really aggressive cyber
Attack.
Cold War all along that eastern front with Ukraine. And then also I think that
Really?
the World Economic Forum has been saying we're going to have a cyber pandemic, as if they're advertising like I'm interested in one,
Yes.
which I'm not. But they're, I think that they're pivoting right at the right time away from their failed COVID narrative, right at the perfect time because we're heading into some economic, collapse. It's
So as a politician, you think
Yeah.
this is all done under timing? It's like this goes away and this comes
Yeah.
in and that disappears and this comes in. It's like it's all timed in spaces.
well, I don't want to be too cynical and I don't want to be too
You can be
skeptical.
cynical. You
But
you like.
I will say that there are folks that they have got a plan for your life, and for my life that we don't know about, and they want to enact some things on the global stage that I don't think are in favor of freedom. So yes, I will say that a lot of things are planned, and I think that narrative beats facts every day of the week. So even if something is true, if you pitch a narrative, that's what people remember and what they believe.
Absolutely. So what do you think about the stock market? I don't know if you're in it or not, or out of it. You're in it.
Well, I pulled out, but I am still.
You're still thinking about it.
Yeah, I was just checking. The Nasdaq was down 2.57% today.
I think the Dow was down 300, maybe down more now, but it started out high, and then it went low, and then it went back up. It's like a roller coaster going up and down. People don't know what to do anymore.
It's a total roller coaster, and our entire financial system is so leveraged. So we're getting to a place where we're already functionally defaulting on our debts through inflation, and we're not even able to pay our debts. So we're going to have a currency crisis that rolls into a sovereign debt crisis, and I think it's going to happen in December and January of this coming year.
So it's the end of this year.
So at the end of this year,
of next year. So do you think? What do you think of the rest of 2022 in this particular year? Do you think we're going to see anything? I mean, I always look on the good side, but what do you think? Are people going to be stable? What sort of frame of mind are they going to be in?
As far as frame of mind, I can't speak to that. That's every individual person's.
Yeah, but on a whole,
on a whole,
this war's going on.
Well, I'll say this. You can mark my words. I think that we're going to have gray skies in March. I think that it's going to be clear skies after that until September, and I think September is going to be black. And
is that because of the elections and everything?
I'm not sure quite why, but
everybody's running and don't know what. They're afraid to say this because that's going to affect me getting into politics, and that's their afraid. So a lot of the politicians that are running are afraid to say too much because they want to get in, and if they say that, they've got to do the right thing all the way through.
Well, and listen, that doesn't serve anybody well because
of course it doesn't.
We just need to be transparent, and we need some people. There's two ways that you can fix things. You can, of course, enact legislation, but you can also just raise certain conversations to the national level that aren't happening right now. And so that's part of the reason why I'm interested in running for a federal office rather than a state or local office.
Okay, so running for federal office, what's your main object of that?
Well, of course, I'd love to be on any committee that is involved with managing our financial situation because that's the greatest threat to national security that we have.
We're trillions, aren't we?
We're trillions, and we have no intention of paying that money back. We're just going to default on it through inflation.
We have it to pay back. But,
technically we do, but we're not going to because...
We're not going to. Why do we lend so much money to everybody else and we're in such trouble ourselves? I've never quite understood that. Because if I was in debt, I doubt if I would be lending anybody any money because I wouldn't have money to lend. So what goes with that?
Well, I think that's a worldview problem. So there's two schools of thought. And this comes out of regime politics in kind of the late 60s. We used to have two parties that wanted generally, the prosperity and welfare of America. But just two different ways. One spent more, one spent less. And now we have one party that believes that America is fundamentally broken and needs to be torn down. That would be the left. And then you've got the right that says, hey, we're not perfect, but let's try to make our country the best that it can be. So because of those worldview problems, we saw Obama shipping billions to the Middle East, and
we actually did see that. It was all on. That was definitely all on television. Everybody saw these plaques of money. Real money. I mean.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't wire it to them, so they had to ship cash on C-130s. I mean, it's just despicable.
But it was to see it though. Was like, are you really putting this on television?
When you see something that's so radical, it's like,
especially when we're not really too happy with each other. It was like, who's paying who off?
Yeah. Well, here's a thought. This will help make sense of it for you.
Okay.
Is that the problems that we're facing they're not very hard to solve, but they're already hard to solve. They're hard to solve if you're already in 10 different people's pockets. Okay. So if you do something that's totally irrational, I may say, maybe someone paid you off. And maybe that explains your actions. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think that we're seeing on the world stage. Because in Ukraine...
People getting paid off.
Well,
now you're talking about Hunter Biden. And now you're talking about something that seems to be swept under the carpet. But how big is the carpet, and how much are you going to sweep underneath it? Because it's going to come out the other side sooner or later. A carpet is a carpet. There's a beginning and end of a carpet. It goes in this way, and then it floats through. So, and that's all being covered up. I mean, I don't know the story. I wasn't there. But Ukraine is now, and they're all going. But they don't seem to know. Biden doesn't seem to know what to do.
He doesn't. And trouble is, you can't lead if you're already compromised and beholden to a bunch of other people that you're answerable to. So that's why, like in my race, it's taken me a lot to get as far as I've gotten, and nobody has a hook or a string in my race. And it seems like everybody and their mother wants to, offer me money with some contingent kind of restriction on it. And I've said, listen. Yeah, and I've said, hey, listen, if you want, I need to raise money, but all you're going to get for it is real representation and just as much access as any
Good
other
for you.
constituent,
Good
and
for
nothing
you.
else.
Okay, so now tell everybody, how can they get to you? How can they vote for you? Where do they vote? How do they vote?
Yeah, well, again, my name is Clark Bossert. If you want to know exactly who I am and what I stand for, then check out the website at clarkbossert.com. That's BOSSERT.com. And there's also a phone number. I'm accessible. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to get in touch. If you want to follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, shoot me a text, email, all of it.
Absolutely. And so now one last question. What do you think of the younger generation? Because everybody's knocking them. They're stupid. They can't do this.
Yeah.
And I don't see that at all. I see them very progressive. I see them really fabulous.
Yeah. Well, listen, they're a generation of young people that unfortunately have been sold a lot of lies.
Yes.
And that's causing a lot of wholesale brokenness. But I really think that they're awesome. You know, I do have a lot of hope for our country. It's just going to take everyone at the top, everyone at the bottom, everybody in the middle. So, you know, as a Christian, I don't think that God is done with America. I think that there are reasons for hope, even in the midst of some of the challenges that we're facing.
And we're facing a lot of challenges right now, but I love you coming on, Clark. Younger generation, I've always been. I had a show for 16 years where the younger generation did very well. I gave them a platform to talk out there because I love them, because they have new ideas. At the same time, we cannot do away with the older generation because they have the knowledge to help the younger generation. The younger generation have all the knowledge of the technical side of life. And we are in the technical side. We are technology this day and age.
Yeah.
Thank you, Clark. And,
yeah, it's my pleasure.
Absolutely amazing. I'd love to see him, so wish him all the best and everything else. We'll be right back with our next guest. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. The foundations of our country are being eroded, and the threats to our nation at this time are greater than ever before. The fiscal, monetary, and tax policies passed in Washington have absolutely stolen the wealth of the middle class, gutted private business investment, and exchanged our bright economic future for a vision of government dependence and scarcity. The foundation of public trust in our institutions has been totally lost, and every day there is a new attack on our civil liberties and our God-given rights. Our leaders' lack of integrity, morality, and courage has left the people of Nevada without meaningful representation and devoid of an opportunity to enact substantive reform. In this hour, we need vision, now more than ever. We need leadership, and we need hope that does not disappoint. For Nevada families, for the risk takers, for the most vulnerable among us, for the defense of our God-given rights. It's time to restore the foundations, and it's time to fight for our future. My name is Clark Bossert. I'm running for the United States Congress in Nevada District 3, and I approve this message.